Carol Jones. How you loving? It is Keith and Carol Jones, and we are back. We're so happy to be back. First, let me apologize for myself and for my husband because we have been gone a really long time. And what is so ironic is that we had made some promises and said we were gonna, be here at least twice a month, and we were going to just, sit down and just chill and chat and talk about pretty much everything relationship and family. But things happened, and I literally had done something for Thanksgiving, and I sat down by myself, recorded something for everyone the week of Thanksgiving, and that did not work out well because we were trying to get it uploaded and get it to you all, and it just took so much time that we went past Thanksgiving, and then literally the weekend after Thanksgiving, my husband got sick, and so it's just kind of been a crazy roller coaster ride, huh?
Yeah, it has. It definitely has. So here we're back. All is well. We're trying to get back into the groove of bringing you some topics and talk and have discussion about relationship and all kind of stuff. So we're not just going to talk about marriage going forward. We're going to talk about all different topics that relate to you. So what we want you to do is send us some information. Go to our YouTube page and subscribe, and then comment. Give us some ideas. Give us some things that you would like for us to talk about. We have been through it for the last 2-3 months, and we're really going to really kind of dive into some things based on this session today. And we hope and pray that it will encourage you.
So today we want to just kind of talk about in sickness and health.
Yeah.
With a question mark, because unfortunately we are acquainted with some people who were abandoned in the midst of their sickness, either by a spouse or by a partner or significant other.
Family.
And so he and I have walked through that, and I'm sure that if you follow Keith on Facebook or anything, you've probably seen his testimony about the time that he was sick, and everything that you can imagine could go wrong with a human being went wrong with him in the hospital. And so it took a toll on both of us. It took a toll on our family. It took a toll on us in a space where we've been dealing with some post-traumatic stress and different things like that, and things as small as watching a show on television. What's the name of the show?
New Amsterdam.
So
there was a COVID related situation. They were coming back from hiatus and different things or whatever, and one of the doctors ended up having COVID, which affected his heart. He was on a ventilator. It was a lot, and so I watched the movie, and it did affect me. So but going back to what Carol was saying, we wanted to kind of share with you our experience in the last 2 to 3 months, to really give you a perspective of in sickness and health question mark. Let's go back. Let me set it up.
Sure.
So check this out. So most of you that are watching, married, understand the vows when it says in sickness and health, till death do us part. I think a lot of times we vow to that, not really understanding the severity of that. And then when that does happen, do you stick to the vow? Do you stick to the commitment that you not just made to your mate, but to the vow that you made to God? And so that little fragment right there, is very crucial because we went through it. Now we've experienced all kind of stuff in our marriage. We've experienced death. We've experienced separation. We've experienced divorce. We experienced restoration. We've experienced those days where literally we didn't have salt and pepper in our cupboard. Literally. We've experienced it all. Richer for poor. But that sickness and health, we always anticipate that the health is going to be good, not understanding that sickness is going to come. And so,
or we think sickness is the flu.
Yeah, it's not to the severity. It's not to the severity. So I caught COVID December the 2nd, went downhill. From there, it was back and forth. I'm just giving you a summary of it because I want my wife to really give her perspective. Most of you that follow me, go to my Facebook page and you can see my video of what I expressed from my portion of it. So December the 27th, we went to the hospital thinking that I was just dehydrated, not realizing that I was bleeding internally. So the doctors kept me. They kept saying my hemoglobin was down and what have you. So during the course of that whole entire week, there was so many different procedures done. I had scoping my kidney biopsy, scoping my stomach to see if they couldn't find anything. They did find one thing. They said I had a bleeding ulcer. They tried to fix that. That was old and different things, what have you. So I'm still trying to get my health and get my strength back, get my blood count up and different things or whatever. So January the 3rd, here I am talking to my wife on the phone. It's early. I know she was getting ready for worship, getting ready for church. And so at 9:10, I'll never forget this to the day I die. 9:10, I'm literally having severe pains in my body right here in this area. And I'm going hysterical. I'm just kind of putting a synopsis on a real summary on it because I don't want to talk about the whole thing because I want my wife to share her experience. So I'm on the phone with her. My resident doctor, my kidney doctor, first time ever in the time I've been there, they was first time in my room together. Most of you can go to that video and watch it. So I am literally about to flatline. My blood pressure is going down and they cold blue. I completely just pass out. I mean, I don't even know what happened after I passed out. Now here's the thing. She was on the phone. She heard the whole entire thing. She heard everything. I'm literally talking to her on the phone. I'm fine. I'm feeling okay. I'm asking, when can I go home? And with the snap of a finger, within seconds, I'm flatlined. They're resuscitating me, CPR. They're trying to put me on a ventilator. They're trying to do emergency surgery, the whole nine. They're calling her. She's calling them. She's going back and forth. 35 bags of blood later. 36 hours later, I'm still on a ventilator and I wake up. So what I want to do is I want my wife to share the portion and perspective from what she experienced because she hasn't had that opportunity. I had the opportunity to share it, and there's some things I left out that she wants to share. And this sickness and health topic that we're talking about is so crucial because the person that's suffering is not just this. It's not a spiritual thing. It's a physical thing because we are as one. And so when we were separated in the hospital, it tore me up. It tore me up and it tore her up because the hospital would not allow any visitors. They wouldn't let. I mean, I asked, she asked. We were like, please, can you just let her come? No, can't come. So that separation really bonded us, really, to be honest, it really made us bond together even more because I'm in the hospital, she's here, she's seeing it, she's suffering through some things, she's lonely, I'm lonely, we just talking back and forth, we video chat, we talked on the phone for like 5 hours one time because the fact that we were so as one and in love with each other and still love each other to this day that it really caused us to see the perspective of sickness and health. So my wife's got the platform, y'all, so just get ready because it's going to be a lot.
So I'm going to make it brief. He says it's going to be a lot, but I'm going to try to,
No, don't make it brief.
I'm going to try to pull it in a little bit.
No,
but it was important to me that we talk about this simply because there are so many couples that are going through, we are in 12 months of a pandemic. We're at a year. And so there are people whose husbands got sick. There are people whose wives got sick. You don't have to be married to be a couple, to be coupled to somebody. And so someone close to you, dear to you, got sick, or someone close to you or dear to you passed away. And so what I found in this whole scenario of my husband being sick is that I told him, I said, you were in the bed in the hospital, physically taking every hit. Your body had been battered, and it was the hardest thing in the world to take care of him. He and my son, my youngest son, were sick at the exact same time. And so they were both in the basement trying to stay away from me, but I was taking care of them and making sure that they, had their meals and just everything. And so that was the entire month of December for my husband. My son started feeling better, I think, about the week of Christmas. And so we were going through all of that, and I'm watching him just go down. He kept going down. And so, I'm trying to be strong, and I'm trying to make sure that every time I descended and went down in the basement with trays of food or Kleenex or medication or whatever for he and my son, that I had this face and that I had this strength and this Teflon courage, to let them know I'm upstairs, but I'm okay. And so I did that and I did that and I did that, but I still had to work. So I worked from home, thank God. So I was still working and I was still having to do the job that I do and encourage. I was still, a pastor's wife. And so I was dealing, he had given me this ton of responsibility to continue to deal with the church, keep the church flowing. I had to preach every Sunday for him in December. So there was a lot going on and I was just going along and not really stopping to process and stopping to think. Yeah. And so then, I made an appointment for him at our regular doctor. We go in December 24th, Christmas Eve. Our doctor was so gracious. He saw us December 24th again. I couldn't go in. I had to sit in the truck. Keith went in, but he could barely walk. He was barely doing anything. He was vomiting all the time. Mm-hmm. And so that was hard. And so I remember when he went into the doctor's office and I watched him try to get in the office and it was taking everything that he had. I remember thinking, when he has no strength, I have to have the strength for us. So I continued to put the face on. I continued to take care of my husband in every way possible. And so here we go through Christmas. He was not good on Christmas Day. He just wasn't good. And like he said, December 27th, and our doctor said, take him to emergency to get hydrated. He took a bunch of blood work, said, I'll get back with you guys as soon as I get the results. Well, we couldn't wait on the results because he got worse. So we, fast forward, he's in the hospital. But every single day, he got there on Sunday, December 27th, from December 28th all the way up until he coded and everything happened. I got a phone call every single day that something else had gone wrong or they had found something else. They knew that there was some internal bleeding, but they could never find it. Scopes and all these things.
They did a CT scan and they couldn't find any blood anywhere, which was kind of baffling.
But on top of all of this, he already battles with a kidney disease, and I always feared, I didn't want him to ever get sick with COVID because I knew that would really take a toll on his body. So his kidneys were failing at this point, and I'm being told that they have to do a kidney biopsy. I'm being told the next day, when they got the results of the biopsy, that now they're getting ready to put him on dialysis. He's going to have to be on that 3 days a week. Yeah. And then I'm on the phone the morning that they go to start the dialysis. He and I were on the phone, and he wanted me to stay on the phone, and I wanted to be on the phone to, make sure everything was going okay. He collapsed during the dialysis because he was internally bleeding. And, when you go through dialysis, they have to take the blood out. So the more she was pulling the blood out through the machine, he just couldn't handle it. So I'm on the phone hearing her screaming his name, trying to get him back and everything, and she's calling for help. So I'm hearing all of this, but I'm still trying to be strong. My son and I, we just, were thick as thieves that, during that season of our lives because, he was trying to make sure that I was okay. He was taking the place of his dad, and, and I'm trying to make sure my son is okay. And my sister, God love her, she came and spent the whole a week with us because I needed her to be here for my son because he was, struggling with his dad being so ill. But my sister also lost her beloved BJ, and you guys follow us, that we talked about Bernard passing away in August of last year. And so I was being mindful that she had lost her husband. Mm-hmm. And so I did not want to make her relive that. Yeah. So I was holding my feelings in. No matter what bad news I got, no matter what they said, I would hold my feelings in. And I literally cried once that week because that was when they told me about the dialysis and how severe it was. And I pulled myself together because I didn't want to bring her or my son or anybody else around me down. So I'm still, going along, but it is all to the glory of God that he gave me the strength and he gave me the courage. He gave me that tenacity. I've always been a very, very, very strong woman. And I think that a lot of people took that for granted, even in that season, because every phone, well, I won't say that. Majority of the phone calls were, how is my husband? And that's okay because he was the one suffering. But we have to remember that we have to ask how the caregiver is, or the, or the partner or the wife or whatever. How are the children, and so I rolled through that, but I'm so grateful to have people, amazing people from our church, amazing people that we hold dear to us,
And
that we call
family
family,
and
our
friends.
circle at our
Yeah.
church, our friends,
Yeah.
you know,
They were
our
there.
brother Greg out of town, so many people that were right there with us, and our friends and family members and people from the church bringing food, sending groceries. I mean, it was amazing. It was a wonderful, wonderful show of support. So we can never, ever negate that and overlook that.
Thank you
And
for
so thank you all so much. And we love you. My family stepped up 150%. It was awesome. And so in all of that, though, you know, I never thought about just walking away. I never thought about taking 5 seconds to just sit still with me, because I wanted to make sure that I was on top of every single thing that I had to be on top of for him. And so, you know, I had spoken with my brother and I said, I don't know how people can walk away from somebody when they're sick, because I saw, you know, what it did to him. And when he was released from the hospital and he came home, he had lost so much weight. He had lost all of his muscle mass. He could barely get up the steps. The boys had to bring him up the steps. You know, he couldn't get out the bed once we got him in there. He tried his best, you know, to get up and pull his strength together. But I'm up all night. You know, I couldn't sleep while he was in the hospital. So then I couldn't sleep when he was home because I needed to make sure he was okay. And he was still dealing with a lot of side effects and a lot of different things going on in his body.
Crazy
Yeah,
in my
and so
body,
it was a
different
lot.
things.
And so with all of that going on, I'm still on this wheel like a hamster just going. And I'm on the wheel, and the wheel that I was on, I felt like it was as if I had completely put all of my emotions and feelings in a box. And I felt like they were over on the table screaming, asking me to just release me. Just release me. I'm suffocating. I cannot breathe. Release me. But I could not release it because I felt that if I released it, if I fell prey to that, then I would not be able to take care of him the way that I should have been able to take care of him. And so I went through so many different emotions. Even now today, I'm going through so many different emotions of that time and that situation in our lives. And so our vows really, really did hit home because, you know, sickness and health till death do us part. And so when you hear your spouse leaving this earth, or you hear them, the doctors screaming for help, when you hear what I heard that morning on the phone, and then they disconnected me. And one of his doctors said, his wife is on the phone. She can't hear this. We need to disconnect her. So they disconnected me. And I had to sit by myself in that moment for about 30 minutes. It took them to call me back, but I got up and I went into my prayer room and I began to pray. But I had the burden that Sunday of going to church in his stead, as I had been doing. And so I asked, could I come and be with him when they finally called me back, and they said no. And so I went ahead and I forged on and I went to church. I had to tell his leaders and his ministers what was going on. It was a very, 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 very difficult time for everybody. I had to get in the pulpit. I had to pray. I had to encourage the people. I got 5 phone calls during the service because I had doctors calling me for my consent, because they needed to do the next thing because the last thing didn't work. And, you know, they had given him 35 blood transfusions just then in that moment because they were trying to elevate his blood pressure to get him into surgery. And one of the surgeons, you could hear, you know, in his voice that he was not sure that he was going to survive. You could hear in his voice that he was trying his best, you know, not to upset me. The chaplain calls me and wants to pray final rites with me. And I absolutely refused to let that happen because we had already prayed about it. And so I had to hold myself together in those moments of being in front of his people and being in front of God's people. I had to hold myself together for my children. I had to hold myself together for my sisters who love him like he is their blood brother, you know. And so I just got to a place that I got really still that Sunday because they didn't expect him to live through the night. And I got still and I sat down in the basement on the sofa, just still with a headache. And all I remember is making a declaration to God, making a declaration to myself that whatever God did, however God did it, I was still going to stand, and I was going to stand in this space, stand with my husband and stand with my family. And so it is the most amazing thing to love somebody in the good, the bad,
Yeah.
the ugly, the ups and the downs, but then you're tested to love them through sickness. You're tested to love them through a sickness that literally could take them out of this life, you know. And so that has been one of the hardest things I've ever had to endure, because like I said, I still had to keep being me, which was working and all the other hats that I wear, but I had to take precision in my thinking, precision in everything I did when it came to taking care of my husband, when it came to hearing the doctors, when it came to, oh my gosh, it was just so much. You know, I had to take so much time to make sure that everything they said, I understood that. And then they told me when he went into that last surgery that they were hoping and praying that it would save his life. They told me that there was a surgery, in part of the surgery, they were going to have to do something that would make his kidneys lose more function. And they said, and if we do this, he'll be on dialysis for 24 hours for a while, because we have to make sure that we're trying to save his life with, you know, dealing with his kidneys as well. And so I had to make that decision. I had to say, yes, whatever you need to do. And when you make those decisions, you also have to remember, if he survives or if she survives, I have to still deal with that decision that I make if it's going to be detrimental for them. And so I had to deal with that and deal with the fact that whatever that decision was, if it meant him being on dialysis from, because they were talking about we would have to do it here at the house, and you know, and hook him up here at the house, and he'd be on that all the time. And so I had to think about all of those things. But all I knew was that I had made the vow to God that in sickness and in health till death do we part, I would be here and I would do that. And so I want to just really encourage the caregiver. I want to encourage the person today that you really do want to scream. You really do want to run out. You really do want to not give another bath, not change another bed. You really don't want to continue to fill up the medicine. I got him that Monday through Sunday.
She got me a medicine caddy.
Yeah, because I had to put the medicine in there, you know, and we have alarms. My son and I have alarms on our phones even now that he has to take medicine certain times of the day. He still has to have a kidney transplant. And I have, I'm in the process now that you go through to be a donor, because I'm donating the kidney to him. And so, you know, even that is another thing that you take on, because you do whatever you have to for that person that you love. But in the process of that, we don't realize that the person that's not in the bed, the person that's not sick, they still struggle. They still are going through their own suffering. They still are going through their own space of, am I doing the right thing? And not only am I doing the right thing, but can I stand in this? And then the biggest thing is, if this doesn't turn out in his favor, will he resent me? Will he be mad at me?
Right.
Because I said yes to the doctor when he couldn't say yes for himself.
I think, you know, in your perspective is the sickness and health comes to a matter of trust. You know, if the shoe was on the other foot, she would have to trust me with the decision of her life. You know, and then here's the thing, I trusted that even though I was not aware of everything that was going on or whatever, you know, I knew with everything that was going on and even the things that we've had before, I trusted her that she would make the right decision. And we've been in those situations. Both of us have been in those situations like, okay, baby, this is you. I trust that you're gonna make the right decision, or vice versa. So in that particular situation, you got to think about it. It's all about trust. It is about trust. But at the same time, here's the other thing that I think what you just brought to light is not only that the person that is sick is going through, but the caregiver is going through. It may not be a sickness, but it's still that caregiver is still suffering. It's still, you know, thinking about the other person and the thing they have to go through, and then putting their feelings on the back burner, or feeling, okay, I got to be strong. And most of us, have really faked at it being strong. Let's be honest. I mean, because we feel like, okay, I gotta press through this now. In your quiet moments, those moments when you're by yourself, you just breaking down, the whole nine. But when you're in front of everybody, you're trying to be strong. You're trying to make those decisions. You're trying to lead the family. You're trying to do the things that's necessary to bring hope and faith into the situation. It secretly, I believe that my wife was like about to lose her mind. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just thinking, because the conversation we've had, you were like, babe, to hear the conversation over the phone as they're bringing me back to, you kept calling, because remember you said I kept calling and nobody would answer. Then finally the doctors were calling you 5 times with 5 different procedures, getting your permission, and they were trying to be sensitive to it, but then you still had to make the decision, pray about it, and then go ahead and then still try to manage through this whole entire situation. And that's a lot mentally. So you've got one person, check this out, you got one person going through physically, but then you got another person that's going through mentally. And that's where we have to bring the light of this in sickness and health and marriage and relationship. You made that vow. It is true. You got to stick to it, as tough as it is. And I believe that as we're getting through this, we're still kind of maneuvering through it, jumping over a few hurdles, just trying to get to the finish line. And I believe we're close. At the same time, that's the point that we have to encourage each other. I know the things that she's going through, so I pray for those things. And then she knows the things I'm going through, and she prays for those things. So the person that is being sick, you cannot always focus on your sickness. You have to focus also on the person that is going through it with you. You know what I'm saying? So I've been focusing on not just me. I've been focusing on where she's at. Making sure she's okay. Let's talk. We opened up the Pandora's box about 3-4 months ago, kind of on some things, with the family, with the children, with our sickness and everything, whatever. And so we talk. We try to be real about our emotions, our feelings. And I think a lot of times we try to fake through it. We try to fake it to make it. Don't do that. Be real in your feelings. Be real in your emotions. Be real with what you're thinking and how you're thinking it. And here's the thing: don't sacrifice your emotions for the sake of the relationship. I have to say that. Don't sacrifice your emotions for the sake of the relationship, because if you're true with your emotions, it will make you stronger. Because you're actually talking, you're actually communicating, you're actually listening to your spouse, and your spouse is listening to you. And so now it's not one-sided. It's a two-lane highway. We both are different, going in different directions at some point, because her direction is the mental, my direction is the physical. I'm still trying to recover. Has it messed with me mentally? Most definitely. But it hasn't messed with her physically. It's more mental for her, but at the same time, here's the thing: we're still on the same path, trying to get better. Mm-hmm. So I encourage you, talk. Don't hold it. Don't say I'm okay when you're really not. When I was having that moment, different things, when I was watching that New Amsterdam, whatever, and she was asleep, and I was like, she said, "You okay?" "I'm okay." But I was like, I don't want to talk about it now because she's asleep. And then finally, we kind of talked about it a little bit. I told her, I said, I got a little, melancholy. I realized when I'm seeing him on the ventilator, it hit me. That was me. Because you can't see yourself like that. You know what I'm saying? But I saw myself on that ventilator when I saw it, and I got emotional. But the emotion piece of it was that I was grateful that I came out of it.
And I was going to say that I keep going. Even now I keep going because I'm so grateful that he's alive. My sister did not have that testimony. Her husband, he succumbed to the cancer. A dear friend of ours lost her husband just a few weeks ago. And so, everybody does not get that second opportunity. They don't get their spouse or their loved ones back. And so I'm so grateful to God that he saw fit to spare Keith's life. And in sparing his life, I don't have the room to complain about anything because he's here with me. But it is a very real situation when you are called upon to not just be his wife, but or the wife or the husband or the girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever you are in your relationship, the daughter to her mother, mother to the daughter, child, whatever. it is a very difficult thing when you're called upon to make decisions that will alter that individual's life, make decisions that won't just alter their life, but it alters your lives together. We are still going through alterations because of what he went through. We've had to make a lot of changes, and we're still making changes, and we've had to make some very big decisions, and we've had to maneuver some things around to make sure that if anything happens to us, that he's okay, I'm okay, our children will be okay. But in the meantime of all of that and everything that you may go through and endure, you have to be ready for whatever change will come with that individual. They don't just come from the hospital the same. They don't come back home the same. They come back home different. They come back home a little weaker. He came home weaker than I've known him to be. He came home different. Where Keith has always been, up and about his own thing, doing his thing. He's incredibly active, and he couldn't do anything. And, to have to bathe him, things like that. They don't always come back exactly the way you assume or you think. So you have to be ready for that. And that's why you have to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then you could crumble on each other. You could say the wrong thing to the other individual. Like I said, our journey is still going. He's still healing. And then it's kind of, to me, some days I think about it. I said, the stronger he gets, we're going to have to kind of go backwards when he gets his transplant, because he'll be down 8 weeks or longer after that. And so we'll go back to, him having to be waited on and taken care of. And so it's just a lot that goes through a relationship when sickness happens, and it's beyond anything that you can fix. I couldn't give him Tylenol. I couldn't give him cough syrup. I couldn't, give him Dimetap or anything for what he was dealing with. And so thank God that we have built the foundation. So that's what I want to just get across before we cut out of here. I want you to understand that if you have a foundation built before the fire takes place, you still will have something left to rebuild, right? And so we all know that your house is built on a foundation that's biblical. And so no matter what storm comes against it, as long as it's built on the right foundation, it'll stand. You'll be able to be okay. And so because we were, built on the right foundation, we love each other, yes, but we put God as the very head and the center of everything that we do. And God has kept us. And he's kept me strong. He's kept me sane. He's kept my husband strong. He's kept my husband safe. He's kept my husband alive. And so as we have gone through this, we just kind of take the licking, but we keep on ticking. And so now we're trying to rebuild those 12 horrendous days in the hospital. We're trying to recover from a month of utter sickness in this house with COVID and everything. We're trying to recover from, I think, not just he and I, but our son, because he was sick with it, and the feelings that we all probably had that we just really didn't share with each other.
But it's stuck here too.
Yeah.
And I think with it being stuck here, that's the hurdle. Is trying to get past that being stuck. And I hope that everybody understands. True enough, we speak faith. We try to be optimistic with our issues and say, okay, we're going to be all right. We're going to be all right. But when you're stuck mentally in a certain place and it traumatizes you, that's real.
That is real.
That's real. And so what you have to do and she hit it on the head, is the foundation. It's God. And then not only that, it's the foundation of your relationship, communication, talk through it. Don't say, because we have a lot of people that are introverts. So they keep their feelings, their emotions to themselves, but then that's a cancer. So you can't do that. So I would say the foundation, one. Two, I would say communicate your emotions, talk about it. Because if you can't talk to your spouse about what you're feeling in that sickness and health kind of situation, then who can you talk to? You're not going to be able to come to a resolve within your relationship.
But I believe, now I don't disagree with that, but let me add a little something. Because I think as long as you talk to somebody, because I was never going to give him all of me while he was sick. I wasn't going to say this is how I'm feeling because this was about what he was going through. I was able to take a lot of my stuff to the Lord, but and even now there's things that I haven't processed, there's things that I still have not dealt with the way I know that I should deal with it because I'm now, and then like I said, in the process of trying to give him a kidney, and that's a lot of work, plus being back at work, plus, running the house and just all the different things and hats that I wear and things that I do. But in the process of that, just try to talk to someone because I'm not the person that if I'm burdened, I don't ever want to burden the next individual, especially if you're sick and you're going through. And so that was probably one of the hardest things for me is not being able to speak, to give words to it. I couldn't give words to it because I felt that if I gave it words, it would make you feel like, you were at fault with something or for something. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted you to be totally in the place of knowing this is something that happened that was none of my doing. I couldn't help it. I got very ill and this is where we are. And so you have to understand in sickness and in health, because that question mark is big there, because like I said, we take that so lightly, thinking that it's just going to be a minor thing. Well, what if it's not?
And
what
health
if
is going to be continuous?
Yeah, what if someone, God forbid, is paralyzed? What if he had come home and been bedridden or in a wheelchair for the rest of his days? What did that mean for me? What did that mean for us? And so I just would have kept going. I would have kept moving. And I believe that when you never for a second think about leaving, when you never for a second thinking, I can't do this, I got to walk away, there's a problem with the foundation. And that's what you have to make sure, that the foundation is good, because when we date, when we fall in love, we're at our best. We get to see each other when we want to. We look the way we want to look when we know we're going to see that person. But when you get married, when you're planning for the wedding, all of that, everything is great. But when that kind of thing happens, when cancer hits your doorstep, when kidney disease hits your doorstep, anything that causes you or the person that you love to be sick and bedridden or whatever, the lot is, can you stand? That's what you have to think about. Will I be able to stand through this? If he can't pay the bills the way I've always known him to pay the bills, if I can't do what I want with my paycheck because now he's sick, is that okay with me? Will I get upset? Will I be resentful? These are questions that we have to ask ourselves, because it is incredibly, incredibly overwhelming to be thrown a curveball that you never saw coming.
Unexpected.
Never saw it coming.
Never saw it coming.
And then for him to be a pastor on top of that. It wasn't just like we were just this married couple. He works, I worked, and all's well. He's a pastor. He's got people's lives and God's assignment on him. And so he was so concerned with making sure his people were going to be okay and that the church was going to be okay. And so,
but not in that priority, because I was making sure that I wanted that to be the home. I want you to be okay. I wanted us to be okay and what have you.
But you had all of those concerns.
Yeah, I did.
And because I'm your wife, and we're, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Therefore, I took those concerns with him. And when he said, I'm giving you this charge and I want you to do whatever charge he gave me for that week or for that month, I took that seriously because I was standing instead of my husband. But I also had to take every single thing that was going on with his health just as serious. And I had to I told him, I said, I couldn't fall apart. I didn't have time for that, because they were giving me so much information about what was next for him that I had to be mindful so that I could make these instant decisions when he couldn't. So it's been a ride, but I thank God that he's been with us on the ride. Trust me. And I want to say this, I don't want anybody under the sound of my voice or that watches this. It can be a week from now, it could be a year from now, it could be 10 years from now. I don't know where this video will end up. But I don't want you to think that I was this super strong woman wearing this cape, because I do wear cape. They tell me that all the time, and I have to finally admit that I wear cape because I do a lot of things and it's overwhelming sometimes. But listen, there were days that I would put the trays down in the basement. I would take their food and sit outside of their doors for them to come and get their lunch or their dinner or their breakfast or whatever it was. And there were days I would come up the steps and I would be halfway up and I would just collapse right there on the step. I was tired. I was overwhelmed. I was afraid some days because he was so sick. There were nights that I couldn't sleep because he would text me that he couldn't breathe and he was struggling. And so I'm upstairs crying and praying, and I'm trying to do it as quietly as possible as to not alert them so that they would be worried about me. There were days that people would ring the doorbell where they had left food or groceries on the porch, and I wanted to open the door and invite them in and have some company, because I was so overwhelmed and I was beginning to feel my strength leave me. And so I don't want you to think that because I'm strong that I just, floated through this, because I didn't. Not at all. So it's okay to say I'm not okay. It's okay to say
that. I was
this is a
gonna say
weak
that.
moment for me. It's okay to surrender and put your hands up and say, I quit for that moment. But you can't quit on the individual that God has put you with. You can't quit, period. I don't care if it's if it's not a husband-wife relationship. I don't care what relationship it is. If you know that they need you and you know that you have been ordained or assigned to that person in that season, you have to be there. And so I did collapse many a day. I did want to go to another, I could feel myself going to the dark side. I really could, where I could feel depression trying to overtake me. My hair has fallen out since this whole situation. I have absolutely not been able to sleep well during this situation. You can probably see the stress or the age on my face from going through.
No, you look good.
Everything
You're looking good,
that we've had to go through. But at the end of the day, everything that I stood and said when we first got married, when God restored our marriage and we got married a second time, it held true because of the foundation that we stand on. And the most important thing to me in this whole situation, and it still is what I put in front of me every day to get out the bed and keep going, is my commitment to God's word. As a woman of God, I'm a carrier of his word. So I'm committed to do it, to take care of those that can't take care of themselves, but my commitment also to be a wife and a mother and a grandmother and a sister and a friend that will always do exactly what I know I am supposed to do. I could never ask anybody else to take care of him. That is my responsibility. So I'm always going to do what's required of me to do. Not going to be easy, but I'm still going to do it. So for anybody out there that's going through, if you're weak, if you're ready to give up, if you feel like I'm at the end of my road, I'm just done, if you feel like you can't take another step forward, I want to encourage you. Take your eyes off of the thing and put your eyes on the promise. Because God gave us a promise. And God has never left me. He's never forsaken me. Now, I have turned my back on him. I have done things opposite of what God told me to do. But God's always been faithful to me. And so it was my faith that kept me in this season. It is my faith that is keeping me in this season. And I want you to just try to just take one more step. And if you can muster the strength to take one more step, I guarantee you, you'll be able to pull that foot behind you. You can pull that up. Take the next step. Because if you don't take that next step, you'll never know what was over there on the other side. You never know what you could have attained. And when it comes to sickness and health and problems in your marriage, money problems, just so many problems you could be having in your marriage, affairs or whatever's going on in relationships right now that kind of has taken its toll on you and literally ripped the life out of your body. Because that's how I feel some days, that it has been completely ripped out of my body. I guarantee you, if you put your mind and your heart to it, you can do it. Because trust me, I still cannot recollect how I got to the church some Sundays. I can't remember what I said, what I preached on. I can't remember how I was able to smile at everybody else and give everybody else encouragement during that. I can't remember how I did it, but I know that it was not me. It wasn't Carol. So the God in me kept me doing that. The love I have for this man kept me doing that. And in everything that we've endured, in all the bad news, in the phone calls and everything that have come, that we didn't want to hear it, and we didn't want to accept that this is the reality, or this is what he has to go through, or this is what's going to happen. I still haven't wavered. I still have never had a one iota of a thought to just walk out and leave him to this by himself.
So, I don't know if we can do this again. Maybe we'll talk about it. Maybe part 2. We'll never know. I think there's some more. We can add so much more to this.
Oh yeah. Because we can talk about the walk to the car or the walk to your room when they called me to tell me I could come and see you for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Just that walk from the parking lot to the room.
There's a whole bunch of other stuff.
The walk from his room back to the parking lot.
We could talk about the light. When you told me to be the light in the midst of everything, and how to minister, to the nurses and the doctors that would come in. I was praying for everybody, I was praying for. We could talk about a lot of that, but I think this is the beginning of understanding sickness and health, not taking advantage of the marriage relationship and taking for granted that all is going to be well. Mm-hmm. There's going to be the difficulties of life. I posted something on Facebook, and I just want to share it real quick. I said the difficulties of life will either build you stronger in faith or allow you to be the victim of fear. Mm. And I don't want to be the victim of fear. I want to have strong faith. And I believe that every time we come to a challenge, a life challenge such as this, it has really strengthened our faith. True enough, we still got a little ways to go. We haven't finished. We haven't finished the finish line. We haven't got to we haven't got to the ribbon yet. But we're still we're striving. We're trying to strive to get better. We're trying to strive to communicate. You had said something about communication. Let me say this real quick. You had said something about communication. The reason why I want my wife to tell me where she is because now I can be sensitive to those things where if it's something I say or do, it would trigger her, not understanding that I'm triggering it. True. So that's the reason why I wanted you to communicate. I wanted you to tell me, babe, how you feeling, what you're doing, whatever. But then I'm unaware of those things, and then it may be the same thing. We can say, oh my God, I feel the same way. So now we're looking out for each other. So that's why I'm saying the communication pieces, because if she never tells me a trigger, or she never tells me, babe, I hear certain sounds, or when you cough, it just puts me in a totally different mode and I'm freaking out or whatever. And I'm like, okay, now I know why. So now I'm being sensitive. I'm the one sick. So me being sick doesn't put me in a situation that I'm not sensitive to my caregiver, my wife. I have to be also sensitive to where she is. So the balance of it is that it has taught us something very valuable. Love. Yeah. Love is something that the Bible says it never fails. And so when you really genuinely love the person that's sick or the person that's your caregiver, it's going to bind you closer together. And that's what she was talking about, the foundation.
Gotta have that.
Gotta have it.
Because if not, it'll crumble. If not, the worst news that they can tell you, you go running. Or you are physically present, but there's no mental or emotional presence.
Check that.
You're gone, because it's just like, I'm just doing this because I'm obligated to. And I have never made him a meal, gave him a pill, washed his face, or
prayed for me.
Anything
to that effect, out of obligation.
Out of obligation.
It was always love.
Yeah.
And the same thing for me is like, I love her enough to want to know where she's at, what she's feeling, what she's thinking, at that moment. Is it a good day? Is it a bad day? Is she struggling or not struggling? Because then we can hold each other up. Yeah. On those days that she's not well and I'm okay, then I can hold her up and say, you know what, I got you. Don't worry about it. We're going to be all right. And that's the balance of the sickness and health that has to happen in your relationship. So, Love Jones, I hope that you got something out of this talk today.
It won't be so heavy next time. It's just that we wanted to share.
We wanted to
and
share.
to my girls out there, listen, I bought quite a few dresses
Oh, Lord.
while he was down.
She had on the outfit yesterday, and I'm like, oh, where'd you get that from? So I don't know if that was.
That was one of them.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
So that was just, I have always been that individual and pray my strength. I'm
Oh,
praying that God will
Jesus,
deliver me from that.
Jesus,
But when
Jesus.
I'm in that space, and I've prayed and I've
She got a
cried and
shopping spirit
everything.
when
You
those
know,
things
the
happen.
next thing I'll do is I'll like get on my tablet or something because, when you
Oh,
can't
help
sleep
us,
at
Lord.
night, that's what you do.
So
So, a couple of swipes and I saw stuff and I said, okay. But in saying that, it did not take the pain away. It didn't help me in any shape or form. So I basically shot myself in the foot, by doing that. But it was literally, it was an outlet. And so I want you to know that you have to have an outlet.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is for you, and how you go about that.
Yeah.
But that was for me because
healthy
Yeah.
outlet. Healthy
yeah.
outlet. Let's specify
So
that.
just know, Love Jones family, I don't ask him to pay not one single solitary one of my credit card bills, nothing. I've never asked him for anything on my credit cards. Have I? Okay.
No,
So,
she has not.
Anyway.
That's another whole session we can bring to you.
You need your outlet, have your outlet, because here it is, and the reason why I said about the pandemic in the beginning is it's a year.
Yeah.
Some of us have been stuck at home.
Yeah.
And so when you work from home and then your husband gets as ill as mine got and he's at home and he was out of work for like 3 months. And so that's all it's the house or the church. And there's no other outlet for me. And so that was mine. But you have to find something, like he said, healthy. That helps you. And if that means, you get some type of a support group.
Go running.
I even told him, I said, I wonder if there's a support group for caregivers, because I think I'm sure there are, but I think that we need to, be more mindful about making sure that we're checking on people that are caregivers.
Yeah.
It's amazing and wonderful to always check on the sick, because that's what everybody in our surroundings did. But for those of you that are out there caregiving right now, or those of you that have never been through this, but someone that is going through something similar, check on them too.
Yeah.
Check on them too.
For sure.
And make sure that all is well. Because listen, every meal or gift card or bag of groceries that we received during this whole time, it helped tremendously, because you don't want to figure out what to cook when your husband is in the hospital,
or your wife,
and you don't want to figure out what to cook after you've been taking care of your husband all day, and now it's time to make dinner. And so if you can help in any way, just help. But just know that those vows are real, and not only just think about, can I stay and would I be able to endure if something happened on the realm of health, but also think about the changes that you'll have to make. And are you willing to make those changes? Because it's a lot of changes.
A lot of adjustments.
Place. Yes.
A lot of adjustments.
And he will come to you and say things.
You can get through it.
Yeah. And if he's like my husband, the head of the house and the priest of the house, his mortality was before him. So he came home different mentally as well. And that was an adjustment, and that was a change. And he wanted to talk about things that we haven't really talked about. And he wanted to make some changes to some things that he had never ever even said to me he wanted to change. And so that was new. And you have to be mindful that these are all the things that will come along with sickness. It's not just about healing. It's not just about the physical aspect of it, but it's also about the mental and the emotional, because it will take a toll on you. And if you are not strong in your faith, then it can also kill your faith when you keep getting bad news. But listen, I told him when God gave him another opportunity, I said, we can never, ever believe the way we did believe. It's a different level of belief in God now. It's a different level of faith that we have to operate. And I believe God's going to challenge us and see how we operate in a different level of faith, because God did exactly what we prayed and asked. Well, I prayed. My son found me in the prayer room that morning. He wasn't even aware of everything that was going on. My sister found me in the prayer room that morning because I had not let her know what was going on with him yet. And so if I die today, the one thing I'll always be proud of is that in the worst moment, my son and my sister were able to find me in the prayer room before God. Mm-hmm. They didn't find me falling apart and running around the house pulling out my hair, but before God, because I knew he was the only one that could fix it, and he was the only one that's going to be able to sustain me to be able to take whatever was getting ready to come down the pipeline. So just be encouraged.
This is our session. So this is our episode with Love Jones. So we want you to follow us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, subscribe to our page. We're going to be putting out quotes continuously during the week about on our Facebook page. So like, share, comment, give us some topics. I probably will put something out on Facebook and solicit some of your concerns and topics so we can actually bring that to our YouTube page. So once again, thank you, Love Jones followers. Thank you so much for following us, being with us, and we're going to be consistent. We're going to get back into the swing of things and bring in some funny episodes. We're going to some serious episodes. Hopefully, we'll be able to have conversations maybe with other couples. Once this pandemic kind of lifts, bringing some different perspectives of how we can really dialogue and talk about some real talk. Talk relationship.
And I'm going to do something called Hey Sis. I haven't even said anything to my husband or my son about it. It's going to be called Hey Sis. And that will probably be live because I just want to pop in every now and then and talk about things that I feel women should talk about. I'm going to keep it really light. If it, gets
bring
heavy.
Some funny stuff to it.
That's okay. But I want to keep it light because I think that as women, we're silenced a lot. And we are nurturers by nature, and we do so much, and we're overlooked a lot of the times. And so I just want to, come out with sis. Some.
Is that what you're gonna say? Hey sis.
So I'll probably, what? Now I think about P, I might say, hey boo, because our grandbaby is 2, and she says, hey boo, like a pro.
Oh my
and so I may do that so that will be a nod to her. But I plan on doing some more things because I've got to get back to doing something for myself because I really have been guilty of making sure everybody else is good. Mm-hmm. And my son and my husband have absolutely been encouraging me to do something more for me.
Yes.
So hey boo, we're gonna do that.
All right. So listen, I want you to catch that. We'll make sure we put notifications out when that comes out, and I want you to join in, share, make sure we get a lot of people on when she does the Hey Boo situation. Hey Boo live. All right. So thank you once again. We love you all, and we'll see you next time right here on Love Jones.
Bye. Hi everybody. Thank you for watching this episode. We want to see your likes and your comments on this video. Also, be sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss anything we've got going on or any of our next episodes. So we'll see you next time on Love Jones.